Welcome to Shorr Solutions, the podcast. I'm your host, Jay Shorr. I'm the CEO and founder of Shorr Solutions, a national and award-winning consulting firm assisting aesthetic and surgical practices with their operational, administrative, and financial success. I have an amazing team of practice management experts and clients across the U.S., and as an industry expert with firsthand experience owning a multi-million-dollar cosmetic dermatology and plastic surgery practice, listen in as I lend you my expertise and best tips to successfully manage and grow your aesthetic practice. I will also be bringing in guests along the way, so get ready to be equipped to operate your aesthetic practice strategically and profitably. Welcome to Shorr Solutions, the podcast. Hello and greetings. Welcome to another episode of Shorr Solutions, the podcast. My name is Jay Shorr. I am the founder and CEO of Shorr Solutions, an international practice management consulting firm specializing in the operational, administrative, financial health and guidance of your aesthetic, cosmetic, and surgical practice. Today, I am flattered and honored to have a special guest with us today, Dr. James Suliburk from Houston, Texas. Dr. Suliburk is an entrepreneur, a surgeon, and the owner and entrepreneur of Aesthetics Atelier in Houston, Texas, along with his wife, Rachel. And today, we're going to speak on a very interesting topic that I find actually appeals to everybody. And it's called, You Got a Minute, Effective Time Management Skills. Now, I know we are all beleaguered with this term, you got a minute, because we all laugh when we hear that, because in the back of our mind, we know what you got a minute really means. It doesn't mean you got a minute. It means you got a half an hour? I always say, and I get calls each and every day from vendors. So vendors, any of you that are out there listening, please do not take this as an insult. Please take this as some help and guidance. When you call us and you say, I'd like to schedule an appointment and I only need a couple or 5 minutes of your time, that is the kiss of death to me on a sales call. Because if all you need is 2 to 5 minutes of my time to describe what you're going to offer me, it's probably not something I'm really that interested in, because anything that I'm interested in takes a lot longer than 5 minutes to explain. Dr. Suliburk, do you ever get people coming into your office saying, you got a minute?
We get them all the time. And unless it's a client, unless it's a customer, I don't have spare minutes. I don't. My role is multifaceted. So not only do we have our aesthetics practice at Aesthetics Atelier here in Houston, Texas, but I have a full-time day job as a surgeon in town practicing thyroid surgery, parathyroid surgery, adrenal surgery. I even still take call at our trauma center and do heavy-duty emergency trauma surgery in a level 1 trauma hospital. And by the way, I also own a medical aesthetics practice along with my wife, Rachel. And we do not have minutes to spare, Jay. We don't have extra minutes. So unless you're a client, unless you're a patient, unless you're a customer, no, I don't have a minute.
I hear that all the time. So let's get to it. What are some of the common misconceptions about time management that may be holding people back from actually really being more productive?
Yeah. So the biggest fallacy in time management is that you're going to be able to multitask. And we all the time think that we can sit and, be on a Zoom call or be in some conference or be at some presentation or be doing something while at the same time trying to get meaningful things done. And the answer is no, you cannot. And it's just an unbelievably seductive thing to think that you're going to sit there and multitask and increase your productivity and get 3 things done at once. But the truth of the matter is that if you do one thing at a time, you will be much more successful and much more productive, and you will get done what you truly need to get done. In our days, we are bombarded with interruptions, whether they're digital interruptions, whether it's people knocking on the door, whatever it is. And the number one rule that I practice is what's called time blocking. And so that means I'm going to set a certain amount of time throughout my weekly schedule, and on certain days for 30 minutes or 1 hour at a time, just depends what task I've got to do. I am going to put that on my calendar, I'll put that on my schedule. And during that time, that is all I am going to do. And that's what allows us to get really concentrated, deep work done. There's tons of science that backs this. One of my favorite reads for this is a guy named Cal Newport, who writes a book called Thinking Deeply. Tremendous stuff. And there's no question that time blocking is the way to go, and do just one thing at a time. Now, what does that really mean? That means you need to be serious about how you value your time and the activities that you do with your time. One thing that's really different between my wife and I, and one thing that we're actually pretty good business partners, which is good at the household as well, is my wife is the ultimate delegator. She loves to delegate and loves to outsource. And I could not be more opposite. I think that there is nothing on the planet that I cannot train myself or learn myself to do. And I don't need to outsource anything. And so between her being on one end of the extreme and me being on the opposite end of this extreme, we're in an amazing marriage. We know that compromise is the way to work. Well, not really compromise, but happy wife is happy life. That's the way it really works. But, one thing I've really learned from her is, if it's not worth my time, I need to delegate that, because I can only do one thing at a time.
I think that's quite the difference between estrogen and testosterone. They think more efficiently than we do, because I battle with this with my wife often. There's things I think I can do, and she says to me, please remember you're 70 years old, but you think like a 25-year-old. All right. I think I can do it. And if I run into an obstacle, I won't go to bed that night until I complete that task, whether it's putting something together. It's, honey, leave it and come back in the morning. No, I've got to finish it today. All right. So how do you maximize and prioritize your tasks for your maximum daily efficiency?
Yeah. So things that are going to require a lot of thought and a lot of creativity. So what I would call the deep work, I do those in the morning. I'm a morning person. I like to get up. I like to get my run in at 5:00 in the morning. If I'm not running, I'm going to a high intensity interval cardio session, but I'm an early riser and early workout. That starts the day. And now I'm not saying everybody's got to get up at 5:00 in the morning. Certainly, figure out what your optimal morning wake time is. Get some exercise in, get some sunlight in to start the day, and then block your schedule and set out the times where the most important critical things that need to get done that require you to be all in and fully committed at your peak optimal alertness, your peak mental capacity, get those time blocked for the morning. I know that starting in the afternoon, I start to fade, especially after lunch. So as I've gotten older through the years, I'm about to turn 50. And as I've gotten older through the years, I've modified my diet. So I don't have a big lunch anymore. I do a late morning snack and an early afternoon snack. And that helps me to be better in the afternoons. But I also save mundane tasks, mundane work to be done in the afternoons.
Do you think your best at the morning comes from you as a surgeon and having that training and having to get up early to be in the OR earlier in the morning versus other people that don't have that surgical schedule?
Yeah, I think so. I think in this world, there are lots of different archetypes of productivity, and it's really based on what your personal circadian rhythm is. There are plenty of people who are night owls. In fact, one of my scientific collaborators from my day job, she is a notorious night owl, and she is one of the most prolific, productive scientists in the entire world. And she is at her best into the late hours of the evening and at night. And I know that I'm not going to hear from her until 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. My day is already, I'm four hours into my day before I'm going to hear from her. But she knows when her productivity time is, and I know when my productivity time is. And so we manage to schedule check-ins at times when we're both going to be awake and alert. I think it does require a lot of introspection, and this is serious introspection. Figure out when are you truly at your best and schedule your most difficult work for the times when you are at your best. The other thing I'll say is I love people interaction. And so my clinic, I schedule my clinic in the afternoon because the interaction with my patients helps keep me going. I love talking about, what's going on in their lives, how we've helped them, their stories, their successes, their challenges. I love to have that personal interaction with our patients. So I love scheduling clinic for the afternoons. But surgery, you're right. Surgery starts early, and that's absolutely the most demanding mental part of my day are my OR days, because we have to be on. There is no substitute for being second best when it's an OR day. And so we have a routine that we go through, just like a professional athlete has their routine that they go through the pregame warm-up. They're going to eat the right foods the night before. They're going to get a good night's sleep, and they're going to go through their game day routine. That's how we prepare for surgery too. So we have that blocked. I have that built into my weekly schedule in sort of a time blocking fashion where, the administrative days, I know what I'm doing. The clinic days, I know what I'm doing. The OR days, I know what I'm doing. And then I've got a couple of flex days that are built in there. And on those flex days, again, that's where the serious work gets done in the morning, and mundane things. If I'm not seeing patients, that's for the afternoon.
Good. That brings up a very interesting point, because as I teach time management and effective delegation, time management, I've always been trained there are A, B, and C priorities. A priorities are things that must get done either right now or today, or have a negative effect if they're not done, usually very time sensitive. All right. B priorities can come right under A, but you know what happens? B priorities can fall to C priorities if additional A priorities step in the way, because you get done your pile of A priorities. Now I'm going to tackle B. All right. Now, B priorities that sometimes fall to C. Most people, I just say, take a look at your desk. You know that piece of paper and that stack of papers that have been there for the last 10, 20, 30, 40, 2 months? Throw them away if you haven't filed them, because once it gets to a C priority, I promise you it'll never get to an A. At best, it'll move to a B, but never back to an A unless you get somebody that mandates that it has to be done. All right. But here's one of my other points. That when you're doing these, how often do you just shoot by the hip, get up in the morning and say, okay, this is what I have to do, versus I never go to bed at night without knowing what has to be done, because before my day is over today, I'm already setting my schedules for tomorrow and the next days. So what are some of your strategies for overcoming procrastination and staying focused on these important tasks, which brings me back to the A and B priorities?
Yeah. So I've got a routine, and that is, Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening, I am setting my schedule for the week. And number one, I'm setting my Monday. If my Monday starts off right and I'm doing well on Monday, then the rest of the week flows very well. The other thing that I'm going to do is on Wednesday, right at lunchtime. Now I don't do lunch, right? So I'm working through lunch. All right. But at lunchtime, I build into my schedule 30 minutes of reflection time, because that's halfway through the week. And I'm going to look at my list that I made on Sunday evening, Sunday night, and I'm going to say, okay, what things didn't get done? Do they really need to get done? Maybe not. Okay. Maybe a couple days have gone through, and I don't need to do that at all. Turns out I'm getting time of my life back. All right. But then the other thing is that maybe some stuff has crept up that I had not anticipated on Sunday. And so now I'm going to get those blocked in for Thursday and Friday. Now, I also, I work in days that end in Y. All right. So I'm on a 6 and 7 day week every week. Now, Saturday mornings, maybe that's for, that's certainly going to be for soccer games with the kids and the family. But there's also going to be some time in there where I may have to clean up some charts, do some documentation, reconcile the bank accounts. But there's always things to do, right? So it's a matter of writing down, whether you use an app or a notebook, a handwritten notebook, that's sort of personal preference, but you need to hold yourself accountable with a written list, whether it's digitally written or written on paper. Sit down, write out your goals for the week on Sunday, revisit those goals Wednesday. And like you said, Jay, if you've got a bunch of C stuff on there, it's see you later. It's see you later to those goals.
Yeah. Also, you have to overcome the delegator. All right. And it is probably virtually, if not impossible, for you to say no, because you're a lucky man. You have an absolutely beautiful wife. So how do you look at her and say no? Because there's that procrastination of things that she may have asked you to do yesterday, but you had other important things to do. The soccer game for the children. That's a priority, because that you can't miss. You can't make that up tomorrow, right?
So there's things that are non-negotiable. So, if my wife says we're going out to dinner a certain night, that's what we're doing. That's how it goes. I coach my son's soccer team. So, I'm going to be at practice. I'm going to be there for the games, and we're going to do that as a family. The biggest reason why that's non-negotiable, not only is it a family thing, but for my personal health and wellness, those are times for me to recharge. So even though it's busy time for me, at the end of those sessions, I'm more recharged. I'm a better person. I'm a better business owner. I'm a better surgeon. I'm a better husband. I'm a better dad, because I've spent that time in an activity that allows active recharging for me.
You can't get that time back either.
No, you can't get that time back. And that time is so valuable. So we make time for positive family first activities, and then everything else flows from there. One thing that I tell colleagues, friends, I'll tell everybody, all your listeners, all your audience, it is non-negotiable to defer recharging activities. Those are what you really need to prioritize. Healthy, recharging, family first activities, things that bring you joy. You need to prioritize that recharging time. If you are deferring your recharge time because you're so busy and you've got to go reconcile the books, or you've got to, do XYZ, not a good situation. That's something where I would say you need to consider delegating those tasks, or hiring or outsourcing those tasks, so that you can make sure that you have your time to recharge.
Yes, we're going to take a quick break and a slight intermission, because what kind of business would we be if we didn't tell you about our own services? I'd like to take a moment to tell you about our Conversion Cascade online course. We want you to be trained to convert more patients and boost revenue in your aesthetic practice. So with our Conversion Cascade online course, you and your team will be able to master two key important things to growing your practice and becoming successful: converting and retaining new patients. So as a step-by-step sales funnel, the course is designed to help you and your team attract more patients, convert calls to consults, convert consults to treatments and procedures, and keep patients coming back for more. Not only will our Conversion Cascade online course help strengthen and develop your team's phone and sales skills in order to acquire, convert, and retain loyal patients, but it'll also serve as a valuable onboarding training tool for every new team member. Plus, in this course, you'll receive downloadable marketing checklists, phone scripts, conversion tracking tools, and more. Sign up for the course to get started on increasing your revenue and converting more patients today. It only takes less than 4 hours to complete the course. You can finish it at your own pace, and you'll have lifetime access. And as a special thank you for our podcast listeners, we're giving you a 20% off discount. Just enter the code PODCAST to start saving. Click the link in our show notes to sign up for the Conversion Cascade online course and convert more patients now. So let me go off the beaten track for a second, because there are lately more and more digital distractions, more than I ever grew up with. All right. So with the age of digital distractions and a world filled with them, what tools and techniques help us regain control of our time and attention? Because, man, oh man, if I don't go to a restaurant and see an entire family, and I mean a family, it's sad. You watch a table and 4 or 5 people of a family are all on their cell phones. Sometimes they're communicating with each other. And I have to laugh because you see them texting and the other one's laughing. And I say to my wife, why didn't they just reach over and talk? So with all that, what tools and techniques can help us regain control of our time with all the digital distractions that we have?
Yeah, that's fantastic, Jay. So one thing is, this is a conscious thing that, or this is an important thing that you have to have first and foremost on your consciousness. And so if you are time blocking and you're really going to commit to deep work, you need to turn off the notifications on your phone, as well as on your computer, and shut off the email. Now, if you're grinding through the 250 emails that you haven't answered, okay, that's fine. But set the settings on your email program to not refresh, and don't take any new emails while you're responding to all the ones that are coming in. Okay. So set that time for that deep work and stop the notifications. Turn them all off. That's very straightforward. Now,
did I hear you say dopamine with all those distractions? What is it?
Hey, listen, the way that these things are, there is a lot of neuroscience triggers, and these alerts in the apps, in the games, in the messaging apps, they are built-in dopamine triggers. They give us reward. You hear that alert go off that so-and-so sent you a message, or so-and-so has updated their new post. Gosh, I mean, I get excited when I see Jay Shorr's new podcast is out. I mean, I see that alert come up, and I'm instantly distracted, right? So you got to shut this stuff off because it sneaks up on you. It's designed to be invasive and insidious and sneak up on you. And it really does. It crawls into your subconscious, and it's triggering fundamental hardwired pathways of dopamine secretion in your brain, in your neurochemistry. And this is why the only way to shut it off is to turn off the notifications when you're committing to that deep work in your time block. Now, it's fine to turn it back on when you're outside of your time block. That's fine, no problems. But you've got to get focused. Got to get focused.
Do you find that it's a age sensitive? I'm on the baby boomer side, and there's the baby boomers, then there's the Gen X, the Gen Y, the Gen Zs, whatever the new ones are. Every 5,
it's
10,
everywhere.
15.
So Jay, it's everywhere, right? Because these are fundamental neurochemistry pathways. They're parts of our biology that are being triggered by the alerts. And it's the most addictive reward, right? The random notification for the random automatic reward, the same addictive behavior that slot machines are based off of. That's what's going on and being triggered by all these digital alerts. Okay. And so that's why it is agnostic of age, and it does cross all generations. It just depends what generation you are, whether you're on this social media platform versus another social media platform, but they all use the same alerts, and they all use the same triggers. And that's why we're susceptible to them biologically. That's why the only way to sort it is to turn it off.
Right. So let's refresh for a second. And, you touched on it briefly, but how do you strike a balance between your work, your personal life, and your self-care to maintain a healthy and sustainable time approach to time management? All right. It's pretty difficult because there's only 24 hours in a day. And I classify this as 2 types of people. There are those people that will look at their watch at the workplace and go, and I can look at somebody, I can speak to somebody and know which one of these people they are. There are the people that look at their watch at 2 p.m. and say, I don't care what time zone you're in. 2 p.m. is 2 p.m. somewhere in every time zone. And they'll say, oh my goodness, it's only 2 o'clock. And then there are those people, unfortunately, like me, that says, oh my goodness, it's 2 o'clock already. All right. Now, because I have a lot going on in my work life, my professional, my personal, my self-care life, because what is important to me? What's important to me is that I get some time off to play some golf. I'm not a great golfer, but there is a reward to me because I get out and I feel good no matter, I feel better when I play better, but I don't feel bad when I don't play well at all. I'm out and it's a beautiful, the green, the water. I feel bad because I lost a couple of dollars in the balls in the water. That's a whole other story. But how do you set that balance between work, personal life, and self-care?
Yeah. So, again, family time is non-negotiable. All right. And in terms of personal care, full disclosure, that's probably the first thing that slips on my week in and week out schedule. I got super busy the last 3.5 weeks and had not been doing my stretching. I do some daily stretching for wellness and to prolong longevity, especially focusing on my back and on my neck and spine, and go to a performance sports physical therapy to make sure to stay in tip-top condition for surgery. And the last 3.5 weeks, I was on every other night call, plus everything else, and just got busy, slipped, had not been going to therapy. Finally got back into it this week. And, was like, golly, what was I thinking? My day is so much better. My week's going so much better because I got one 30-minute session in at my performance therapy place, one session of 30-minute stretching, and just instantly got me back going to where I need to be. So as men, we tend to defer self-care much more so than women. So for all your audience that's listening out there that are guys, you do need to just be honest, be brutally honest with yourself. You're not a machine. You're not a robot. You need to invest in yourself physically so that you can be at your best mentally. Other things that are very important in my daily routine are hydration. So I use electrolyte solutions now to hydrate because I'm a surgeon. I'm scrubbed into procedures. I cannot drink the amount of free water that I'm supposed to every day without having to pee all day long. That's probably too much information for some of your listeners, but bottom line is I can't be scrubbed into surgery having to pee. So I drink electrolyte solutions all day long in order to stay at an optimal level of hydration, which provides me energy and mental clarity to get through what are really long days. The operating room is a controlled humidity environment, and so our insensible losses are even greater in the operating room. So we have to hydrate. That's just a physical performance thing. We know that strong body equals strong mind, so you got to take care of everything.
I think the most important thing that I'm taking out of this, from this conversation, is to develop the best you. And don't take yourself for granted, because we'll do everything for everybody else and try to please everybody else. And you're right. Men, we are the worst at taking care of ourselves. That's not something that you and I just made up. All right. It's truly been something that I've known all about that. So what role does goal setting play in effective time management, and how do people, set and achieve meaningful goals with their daily routines? How do you do that?
Yep. Great question, Jay. So in terms of goal setting, it all starts with that Sunday afternoon session of what are my goals for the week. All right. And then, once a quarter, I set my goals for the quarter. What do those goals for the quarter lead up to? Those goals for the quarter, they lead up to goals for the year. All right. And so what we do is we can sort of say, okay, well, let's now break that process down, but let's reverse engineer it. And so at different times throughout the year, both in July as well as at the new year in January, that's a time where my wife and I will sit down and we're going to get babysitter for the kids. We're going to get out. We're going to get some fresh air, get a walk in, and then we're actually going to go to lunch. And we are going to sit around and talk about what our 6 months goals are, what our year goals are. And then what I do is I sit down with a notebook and sketch out and reverse engineer how we're going to get those goals done and break that down into a month. Break that down into what the quarter looks like, what the month looks like, and then what the weeks look like for those months. So goal setting, really straightforward. But the place that people most commonly fail is they look at that goal that's a year from now and they go, wow, okay, that's what I'm going to do. But how you're going to get there, what are the steps you need to break that goal down into so that each step is achievable? You have to be very honest, brutally honest with yourself. Can you do that? And if you can't do that, that's okay. Break it down some more into lesser things that you can achieve. All right. The journey all the way up the mountain, the journey, I've got a friend who recently, he successfully climbed Mount Everest. He didn't wake up and say, you know what, next month I'm going to go climb Mount Everest. He had trained for 2 years and had taken up mountaineering from scratch, and over 2 years made multiple different preparation climbs. And then once he finally went on his expedition to Everest, it was a 2-month process for him to successfully make it. So he didn't just wake up and go, I'm climbing Mount Everest. No. He said, my goal 2 years from now is to successfully have climbed Mount Everest. Now, how am I going to do that? I'm going to break it down by, okay, well, I've got to do this many expeditions. I've got to get this gear. I've got to go this training. I got to get to this level of mental conditioning, this level of physical conditioning, and wrote down, literally has a notebook that mapped out his journey that ended in success. Now, there's only about 3,000 people in the history of the world documented that have climbed Mount Everest. And I know every day, Jay, we get bombarded with stuff in our goals in life and this, that, and the other, and they can seem lofty and they can seem like our own versions of Everest. But let me tell you, it is absolutely achievable. You have to sit down. There's no shortcuts. There's no hacks. There's no app for that. You can be all the gimmicks and gizmos there, but you got to sit down, map it out, reverse engineer it, and break it down into achievable steps that will get you there. You got to put in the work.
Yeah, I agree. And here's one of my favorite lines is don't let perfection get in the way of great or even good. Example,
Yep.
I'm a converted left-handed golfer. I'm now a right-handed golfer due to sports injuries. And my goal was to shoot in the 70s. It's never going to happen now. I hate to say I'm not a negative person, but now I'm shooting from the senior tees. For those of you who know, it's right behind the ladies' tees. But I was happy breaking out of triple digits into the 90s. I was in the high 90s. Now I'm in the low to mid 90s. I don't know if I'm ever going to get back into the 80s. I've never been in the 70s, so I don't know that I'll get there converted. But each step of the way, my time management, I put time aside for me to clear my head to go play on the weekend. Or we didn't talk about this, but one of the goals that I have, whether it's a man or a woman, is I set time aside to have a date with my wife. Because this way I put everything else aside on the professional side because it's still going to be there. We just don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And don't let time pass you by without having had the opportunity to do the best and be the best you. In closing, Dr. Suliburk, I'd like to ask you, what advice would you give someone who wants to start improving their time management skills and make a lasting change in their life? You and I, as more on the mature side of age, you're much younger than I've made my share of mistakes and what I should have done back then. But what would you tell a younger you how to start that journey? It's a lot easier just to read a book and look at successful people, but it didn't start that way. All right. You've got to climb that Mount Everest. So what would you say to the younger you?
Yeah. So the younger me, here's what I would say. Number one, tomorrow is not given. Tomorrow is never given. It is always earned. And, as I've gone on, things that I've learned is I think I can do everything. I have to accept the fact that I just can't. So what are the 3 things I need to do tomorrow morning? Write those down. What are my objectives for work tomorrow? What am I going to get done? What's the time that's going to be committed for that? How can I get those done? I used to have 5, right? And I learned that numbers 4 and 5 weren't ever getting done. So now I've got it down to 3. Maybe it should only be 2, but I'm at 3 right now. But if I break it down to these are the 3 things I've got to get done in this amount of time that I've got, then we're going to make it happen. Jay, I'm going to close with another self-care item. As we get older, you have got to pay attention to the alcohol. I have to pay attention. Okay? There is nothing worse than 2 days of wasted productivity because I had 3 margaritas instead of only having 1. And I want to let all your listeners know that as much as I love my South Texas margaritas, one thing that's helped me immensely is just saying, you know what? I'm good with my 1 margarita. I'm good. And the next day and the next days after that go so much better. So as we get older, we have to realize we're not the young buck anymore. Our bodies change. We have to dedicate lots of time to self-care. And that means eating right, staying hydrated, healthy lifestyle, doing the exercise, non-negotiable time for active recharging activities. And whatever that is for you, it's golf. For me, it's coaching my kids' sports, spending time with my wife. You touched on dedicating time for that relationship. The science is very clear that people who are in successful relationships from a personal standpoint are going to be outstandingly successful from a business standpoint. So be happy with yourself, be happy with your partner, dedicate the time and effort that it takes to make that happen. And you're going to find your business days going that much better. Your time management will be that much better. Make time for the things that matter most. Use a deep degree of introspection to identify what's going to matter the most, both in your business life, your personal life, and your self-care life.
Dr. James Suliburk, surgeon, entrepreneur, business owner of Aesthetics Atelier in Houston, Texas, along with his wife, Rachel. Thank you so much for being a part of our podcast. You got a minute, effective time management skills. I look forward to speaking with you again. Thank you, everybody, for taking a busy hour of your day to listen to both Dr. James Suliburk and myself. Have a great day.
Thanks, Jay.
So that wraps up today's episode of Shorr Solutions, the podcast. If we mentioned any website links, you can find them in our show notes. To work directly with me and our award-winning team of consultants to increase efficiency, increase revenue, and decrease costs in your aesthetic practice, schedule a free consult with us today. We will help you establish and refine your aesthetic practice's protocols for maximum efficiency and productivity, decrease your expenses, and increase your profitability with an expert financial analysis of your business, attract more patients, convert calls to consults, convert consults to treatments, and keep patients coming back for more with our sales training, coaching, and complimentary access to our Conversion Cascade online course. Recruit, hire, and train new team members and manage any staff turnover with our human resource expertise, plus more. Head over to our show notes and click on the link to schedule a free 30-minute consult with us today. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to spread the word and share this episode with your friends, colleagues, and the rest of your team. Remember to also follow us on social media at Shorr Solutions and sign up for our e-newsletter. You'll learn about our latest tips, blog posts, services, videos, webinars, and more. Links to our social media channels and to sign up for our e-newsletter are in our show notes. So see you next time, and remember to leave us a review and subscribe for more valuable content.